Hi, good evening. I'm Lonnie Stonich, the Executive Director of FAN, and I'm pleased to welcome you to a fantastic conversation tonight between Billy Porter and Jamal Jordan. Thanks for attending. FAN's a nonprofit organization that presents a high-quality speaker series offered free to the public on a wide variety of topics, including human development, mental health, education, and social justice, among others. We have about 150 videos of past events archived on our website and our YouTube channel, so please be sure to explore. And now for introductions. Billy Porter is an actor, singer, director, composer, and playwright from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He is the winner of the 2019 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series for his portrayal of Pray Tell in Pose, the first openly gay Black man to be nominated and win in any lead acting category. Mr. Porter is also the winner of the 2013 Tony, Grammy, Drama Desk, and Outer Critics Circle Awards for his groundbreaking performance as Lola in Kinky Boots. As a director, among other shows, Mr. Porter helmed the revival of Suzanne Lori Parks's Top Dog, Underdog at Boston's Huntington Theater, where he was awarded the Elliott Norton Award for Best Director. Jamal Jordan is a mixed media documentarian and the author of the 2021 photo and story collection, Queer Love in Color, a moving collection of photographs and stories of queer couples and families of color from across the US and around the world. Mr. Jordan is a lecturer in Stanford University, a civic media fellow at the University of Southern California, and a news fellow at YouTube. He has worked with Vice News, NBC News, and most recently, the New York Times. He mentors with various organizations, including the National Lesbian and Gay Journalism Association's training program, the Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit, and the Youth Design Center in Brownsville, New York. And now, let's welcome Billy Porter and Jamal Jordan.
Yay, imaginary applause. Woo, so happy to see you. I'm really honored. I wish we had, like, if we were on stage, I would have some champagne for us. It's so cool. Oh, I'm super excited to have you here. What's up? How are you feeling today?
I feel good. You know, it's, I'm working on my audiobook right now. And, it's interesting because I didn't really understand how difficult it would be.
What's so hard about it?
Well, the book is about healing trauma through my art. When I was writing it, there's a detachment when you're writing it,
right?
Because you have to, maybe detachment is not the word. You're writing it. Yeah. So you're an artist writing something. So there's a observatory, space that you have to be in to do the writing. And, then you do the editing. Then you do all of these different types of reads that require you to work, but not ingest, not hear it or feel it or understand that it's actually your life.
Yeah, it's all this output, get it on the page, get it on the page.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And so to sit down for the first time, not worrying about having to change stuff for legal purposes, or the punctuation is wrong, or I spelled something wrong, it's the first time that that's happening, and there's a mic in front of my face, and it's being recorded for posterity for all time. And as an artist who's an actor, I have to get inside of it so that everybody who's listening to it can feel it. And I'm feeling it for the first time. I'm literally looking at my life at 52 years old and going, oh my God, I am 2 years past a quarter of a half a century old. And I've gone through some shit that actually matters and that can be transformative, not only to myself, but to anybody who reads it. And that was the point for me going into this. When I was asked to write this, my point was, I have to say it. I have to tell the truth. Somebody is giving me the opportunity to tell the truth on my own terms. So that's what I really, really tried to do. And as I'm reading it, and I'm on chapter 14 out of 20 or 22 or whatever it is. So the audiobook is coming soon. And like I said, and like I've been saying to everybody, just because it didn't come out on time, everybody's not going to listen to it because it didn't come out on time.
Listen, deadlines are just suggestions. So like, let's just work with that space. Oh, I had the privilege of reading this like really great book. It was like shipped to my home a month ago.
Yeah.
And honestly, like for those of you watching, we just met over Zoom about like 15 minutes ago. And I didn't want to be like too much of a fanboy there, but honestly, like I must thank you for writing this. Obviously, you did a great job, but I think that the strength of this book is that it feels so, it's written in such your voice, even down to the way you say work and everything. And I think like that really made it hard for me to put up any kind of barrier. Because sometimes I was like read the thing, it's like, I just want to know the words, but I was like, this is getting like heart torn apart. There's in the best way possible. And so
yes, of course.
There's one quote that I wrote down like about halfway through that I like want to start talking about. You say, it's time to leave my past behind. My trauma has been my engine for my entire life, and I don't want to be defined by my past anymore. It's time to heal and tell it's time to tell a different story, a story of healing. And I'm wondering, like, I think so much of the gift of this book is that you probably hear this a lot, but if someone had given this to me when I was 14, I would have just like felt a lot less alone on that path. And so like, just tell me about this process of having to go like, you know, you're on page 1. How did we get into the space where we accessed this like honest story about your past? And even like beyond that, like how did you get comfortable, you know, bearing your soul on a page like this?
Well, I've been an artist since I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've ever wanted to do was to be able to express my truth through my art, express my authenticity through my art, heal my trauma through my art, which was the objective of this book. And so when I sat down to write it, that was the only thing that I was interested in, was to tell the truth, my truth, in all its complexities and all its contradictions. And that was it, you know. And I don't, you know, I'm a person who has had no other choice but to jump off ledges and believe in faith. I didn't have any other option. And so when, you know, Jim McCarthy called me after having come to see my off-Broadway play that I wrote about my family that was running off-Broadway while I was starring in Kinky Boots. And he proposed that there was a memoir in me. My first reaction was, I'm too young for a memoir. and it's not time yet. Like, I haven't lived long enough to write a memoir about, you know. And he said, no, there's a difference between a biography and a memoir.
Yeah. You
are definitely memoir. A biography, an autobiography is a cradle to grave narrative of a person's life. Memoirs are about moments. Memoirs can be written by anybody at any time about specific moments in their life. So it started me thinking, and I just thought, if I'm going to do this, and I should do this because it terrifies the shit out of me, I want to make sure that I am telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and also positioning the storytelling in a way where we can talk about healing.
Yeah.
Especially for Black queer men, especially for anybody Black and queer, especially for anybody queer, especially for anybody who feels like they're an outcast, especially for anybody, ... who can read this book and be freed from whatever is binding them. That's what the goal of this book to me was about.
Yeah. What was it, you really go in detail about like some very difficult moments in your childhood up until and through Kinky Boots.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering,
And
like,
beyond.
and beyond.
Yeah.
I feel like reading it, Kinky Boots was after, like, you getting into Kinky Boots was the moment at which I was like, finally, thank you. So I'm sure you felt the same. So, how was it? Like, I want to hear a bit more, just like as an artist, about like what it meant for you to have to channel like those harder things, because like it's one thing to have the outward goal of, you know, offering yourself to allow people to like live through your journey, but actually, like, you know, just as you're going through it, like reading these things in your audiobook for the first time, what's it like reassessing those memories? Like, how did you do it? How did you take care of yourself? Like, how did it
I'm
impact?
still figuring out how to do that. I'm still figuring out how to take care of myself. But one of the spaces that I understand growing up in the Pentecostal church, and I talk about this a lot, is that in the bubble of religion, particularly my Pentecostal church experience, and let me say this at the front, this is not about dragging religion. This is not about dragging the Pentecostal church. It's not about that. I'm just speaking of my experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my experience inside of that construct was very limiting, because unfortunately, there were no other options for my community. Let's talk about how religion and the Black community, right?
Yeah.
Colonizers stole us from our own country and brought us over here to build their country, right? This country is built on my ancestors' backs. And one of the things that was the most defining in the how to make that happen was the introduction of Christianity to our people.
Yeah.
The idea that if you're a slave over here, then you'll get your reward on the other side.
How did this, how did having to like readdress that, like, you know, how did having to revisit that space, you know, impact you now in like your older age?
Well, what was interesting about it was that because of the abuse that I talk about in my book,
Mm-hmm.
between the years of 7 and 12, I actually understood at the very early age that the religiosity that surrounded me had nothing to do with taking care of me as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would have to take care of myself because there was nobody in the space that had the capacity or understood how to take care of me. That's what happened. And my art saved my life. Finding art, finding musical theater in the 6th grade at Reisenstein Musical Theater, somebody introducing musical theater to me, and me then organically vibrating in spaces that were outside of where I came from. And my bubble allowed me to begin to understand how to dream beyond my circumstance.
I wish that I had that passage highlighted, because there was a point, like in that book you write about like art with such a childlike wonder. It feels like you're just rediscovering it again as you write it. And so I'm so happy you like highlighted that as well. Go on, I interrupted you.
No, I just, that's it. It's like, wow, like I'm reading this book and I'm marveling at the angels that were in my life, how covered I have been spiritually. And, regular mainstream churchy Black folks, and I can only speak to it because I came from a churchy Black folk, churchy Black people. I call myself a church sissy in the book at least 400 times. The bubble is real.
Yeah.
And if there's no connection to something outside of your bubble, which we are all born into the bubble, whatever that bubble is, whatever our bubble is in our family, it's hard to break away from that. It's hard to dream beyond that. And it's hard to take steps in one's life to change that. I was lucky. I was blessed. The original gift, the original blessing was a talent that has nothing to do with me. Whatever higher power you believe in, or even if you don't believe in one, I was given a gift that don't have nothing to do with me. And that is the voice, that is my singing voice. That was the original gift. And I remember distinctly, and I talk about this in the book.
Yeah.
5th grade, bullied every day till 5th grade.
Could you talk to me a bit? I remember, I know what you're going to talk about. Can you tell me a bit about just like that childhood bullying and how that, helped focus you?
Well, from the moment I could comprehend thought, I was a sissy. You're born gay. We're born this way. We're born this way. Living in a home filled with women. The women in my family thought that my effeminacy, my effeminate nature, was because I was hanging out with too many women. And they were afraid. And so they sent me to a psychologist in kindergarten every day for an hour on Wednesdays after kindergarten. So the first messaging I get is something's wrong with you and you need to be fixed.
Right. Before you even understand what wrong and right is for yourself at all.
Before I can barely speak.
Right.
I just learned how to talk English, you know? And so when I think about that and I read those things and and as I read the chapters and I realize like, I was attacked. My humanity was attacked from the moment I could comprehend thought, and still is every day, all day, still today at 52 years old. And I had to figure out how to navigate that.
I feel like your story is such, we talked about this a bit earlier, like such an inspiration to like younger, very particularly like young Black queer artists, creatives, and just people in general. Obviously, all of us have some sense of pop culture knowledge. You've been at the forefront of so many of like the biggest expressions of just like the biggest like progressive expressions of like Black queerness on TV. Pose, obviously. I remember the first time I ever like saw you was, I think it was like 2011. You were in Angels in America. And I was,
You came to see it?
Yeah, I tried to be an intern there and they didn't give me an internship, but I did see the play. But no, it was like, and if I am like any of the sure like tens of thousands of people who've seen you in any space, I know that it can just be such a like profoundly, viscerally like relieving thing to see you just like, you know, doing your thing on stage. Good bullies, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold your question. And just so we're, up until that point, every Black man who played Belize was straight.
Since a lot of you are college kids in the chat, Angels in America is a very great play.
Don't explain that to them. They need to go and fucking Google it.
Professor Jordan won't explain it today.
That's the Pulitzer Prize winning magnum opus of the AIDS crisis. It's 7 hours. It's in 2 parts. We are not wasting our time to explain to you what Angels in America is. Y'all should already know it. I love you. I love y'all. I'm not trying to be shady. Go figure it out yourself. We need to talk about other stuff. We're not explaining Angels in America.
Fair. Yo, my question for you is, sorry. My actual question for you though is, you like, what is it like, being this person, this beacon for like younger generation that we're seeing be so much more visible than you could have been at this age? Like I met Lil Nas X at the beginning of the summer, and I think this is before you guys, I knew you were working together, and I just wish I could have been in there to like just know what that conversation is like. Like, what's it like to seeing the newer generation have it a bit easier than you did?
I am so grateful to have lived long enough to see the day when an artist like Lil Nas X is in the mainstream culture and shutting it down. Mm-hmm. This is what my generation and everybody whose shoulders I stand on fought for. This is what we fought for. He is what we fought for. I am what we fought for, and it's not lost on me that not only am I a part of the generation that actively kicked the door down and blazed the trails, but I also get to benefit from the work that I put in. And that very rarely happens.
Yeah.
Very
It
rarely happens.
must feel like such a privilege to like be able to track that through your life. Like you do a good job of doing it in the book, but I can't. I know that you're probably personally still in the reflection of having this out in the world, but I would just feel like the top of the world all the time if I could just see that progression happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I you know, for me, it's like a balance of making sure that the celebrity part, the fame part, the bullshit part doesn't usurp the depth of what is happening. And so I try to stay focused on the work. I try to always make sure that my intentions are clear and pure and grounded, and it is always about the work first and foremost. Because if the work isn't fierce, none of the rest of it is.
Yeah. I want to, we're getting a lot of questions as we talk, and feel free to drop a question in if you're watching. And I wanted to like bring up one that someone, like as we're talking about like intergenerational connections. Joe Serio, I'm so sorry if I got your name wrong. Mr. Serio. He says some of us are old queens and remember. And he asks, how can we transmit queer history to the next generation of LGBTQ young people? Like, do you have any advice or general things that you try to do or want to see more of from our community at all?
Well, that's what we're doing. You know, it's a daily discovery. You know, when I think about my life and I think about Pose, that's it. You know, it's happening. We have to be patient. We have to be vigilant. We have to be diligent. And we have to make sure that the narrative is not overtaken by bullshit. And everybody on this Zoom knows what I'm talking about. And if you saw Stephen Colbert last week, you know what I'm talking about. We have to make sure that whoever it is, I am in a position of power now, something that never existed for me before. And it is my duty and my responsibility to have the accountability conversation with the world across the board. Mm-hmm. And I get to have it. I get to have it because for whatever reason, the universe decided my Black church sissy ass gets to cross over. And people want to listen to me. And when I talk, CNN picks it up. That's new to me, y'all.
Can I ask you a sidebar question?
Yeah.
Speaking of what you just said, I remember seeing the DNC and you showed up at the second or third night of the Democratic National Convention. I lost my shit. I was like, how? And it felt, I was like, oh, like we made it.
Right. But there's this idea that permeates our culture that being fabulous and being serious do not go hand in hand. I smash that. Don't come for me in any way. I know exactly what's going on in the world. At every moment, I am first generation post-civil rights movement. I am a political artist. And every choice you see me make is based on that. I showed up to the Oscars in an antebellum tuxedo gown on purpose. Don't get it twisted. On purpose. And I knew exactly what I was doing.
I was going to get into this a bit actually later, but since we brought it up, I wanted to like, I feel like, and maybe this could be my ignorance, but I don't think it is. Over the course of Pose, I think that your like outward expression, just fashion, became a lot more. It was like you became the person on the red carpet to watch. How did like was that a personal choice of you to just like make bigger statements via fashion? Is it like me? Like, you I know that you're doing everything for an intention, but what's the intention here?
It was always, there was always an intention behind it.
Yeah.
It organically grew into this degendering, non-binary fashion conversation. But that's not where it started. Go back to Little Billy in the Black Pentecostal Church. Everybody in the world knows that the Black church is a fashion show.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was a seamstress who made dresses for the entire family from the, vogue patterns, right? My favorite time of year was Christmas and Easter because I got a brand new suit.
Yeah.
I have always been into fashion. I'm first generation post-civil rights movement. So your first impression is the only thing that matters.
Yes. The generation of people who had to like stunt on people at least twice a week growing up.
So my first impression was what you look like. This was pre-jail fashion. Let's call it where it came from. No shade. No shade. But the hip hop culture fashion that has evolved into mainstream billion-dollar industry started in prison with Black men who didn't have belts and their pants lagged underneath their butt cracks. This is not a judgment. This is not a read in any way. My generation were wearing suits. That's it. The world evolves. I got it. I don't mind it. I think it's actually sexy on a lot of them. I'm a gay man. Show me your ass.
Really?
Fuck it. Well, come on.
Yeah.
You don't ask me questions you don't want the answers to. And don't ask me to not tell the truth. Listen, it's all good. We have to understand the evolution of things though. And I'm a part of a generation that was pre that.
Mm-hmm.
So coming into my career and looking at the landscape as a businessman and going, why do the women always get the fashion endorsements? Why do the women get to have another revenue stream that happens immediately and is not sort of like an afterthought? Like with men, it's sort of an afterthought. It has to be a watch. It has to be cigars. It has to be a suit, and I understand that. But like in my brain, I was like, what version of this can I be? Because I know that it's like, it's a part of my expression. you know, my fashion and how I show up is a part of my expression as an artist. And I think that that is what has been so surprising to me and the rest of the world, is that organically it evolved from the confines and the chains of toxic masculinity to the freedom of non-binary, gender-bendy, degendering of fashion. I didn't know that that's what it was going to be. That was not what I was going for.
Mhm.
That was not in my brain what I thought it was going to be. But as it evolved, it sort of landed in my lap, and you know, and I went with it. I'm going with it.
I knew that you made it, like, obviously there were like two things that happened. One, my mother, who like does not know anything about pop culture, like consistently is like, "Do you see what Billy Porter is wearing? You see what Billy Porter is wearing?" Like, if she's here right now, she's probably freaking out. Hi, Mom. And second, on Halloween, I was at a Halloween party and I saw two people who were you on the red carpet. I was like, I just saw two Billy Porters out this weekend. So like that's
Now, which ones were they?
One was the like black tuxedo like dress, and another was the like
Yes.
yes.
Those are the two most popular Halloween ones. I've seen many of those. And that is so like, wow. You know, like, my intention has always been to be of service. This is service. My queerness, which everybody told me would be my liability. And I leaned into it anyway. I chose myself anyway, because I was watching Oprah and she said, choose service.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood that that was my service.
And now you have like queer men who have a character that can just be for the first. I was like, oh, that connects with me now.
Black,
yeah,
queer, out, unapologetic, when everybody is telling you that you don't matter because of that. You have no place on this earth because of who you are. How dare you? How very dare you? And the answer is no. And look, like, when I was trying to be what they, and I always do this, what they wanted me to be, you know, my queerness would be my liability. And it was for decades. So it's hard to lean into something that is your truth when for decades, it ain't working. It's hard.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, kinky boots. And I mean, when I tell you guys, every single day I wake up and I marvel at who I get to be, the truth that I get to live in show business. It's all a lie. Show business is all a lie. It's all make believe. It's all make believe. And in the center of that, I get to be me.
I love that you like segued us to Kinky Boots, if only because I think that like reading that chapter in the book for me, I legit was like, oh, I can do that with anything. Like, give me a hammer, I can go break down a wall. It was like it felt a lot like a lot of the bigger arc of your life story distilled into one like smaller event.
Well, because it was the affirmation.
Mhm.
I chose myself when it was unpopular. It's easy to be who you are when what you are is what's popular. Everybody likes to throw this authenticity conversation around. Be who you are, be authentic. Unless you're Black and a faggot,
Yeah.
then you need to go somewhere and shut up. I'm just telling the truth. I know my language can bristle some people. I will never again not tell the truth. And I'm sorry if sometimes it comes across as abrasive, or sometimes it comes across as whatever. I apologize for that, but I have a passion and a purpose and a ministry inside of me that is beyond me. It's beyond the fashion. It's beyond the business. There's a calling on my life that's been on it since I was born. And it's coming to fruition right now. And it's magical. If I'm going to be honest, it's magical. Because if I'm going to be truthfully honest with you, I spent the first 20 years plus of my career trying to fit in, to be the thing, to be straight enough so that I could eat, or to be sassy enough as some white girl's best friend, or on a Shonda Rhimes, a side character on a Shonda Rhimes hospital show as a queer person, as it was evolving and as the storytelling was evolving and as more archetypes and more characters were coming onto the marketplace, I was trying to fit into that. Never once did I think that I was the thing. Never once did I think that I was the change that I needed to see. They don't teach us that as Black gay boys. They don't teach us that we can be the change that we want to see. They don't teach us that. They don't teach us nothing. It is 2021, and we are talking about making American history illegal to teach because it makes white people uncomfortable. I'm gonna talk about it because they're coming to get my Black faggot ass first. Whether I speak now or not, they're coming to get me first. If we don't get a hold of what's going on and Trump comes back and these people come back, you can be rest assured democracy is done. It's done. So therefore, I'm gonna talk now while I still can. And I'm gonna tell the truth right now while I still can. And come and get me. If that's what it comes down to, come and get me. We've been here before, y'all. We've seen this before. It's been over 400 years. I'm tired.
It's you've really, I think, awoken a lot of like passion amongst the people who are watching. I'm looking at the questions that we have now, and I think like the most upvoted comment says, not really a question, but thank you for sharing your truths, and thank you for paving the way for other people to live their truths. And I think that you, like, just in this 46 minutes that we've been here together, have just like demonstrated the power of being able to do that. So Oh, I
That's
want.
what art gets to do. That's why I love being an artist, because that's what we as artists get to do. And people always ask me, are you going to go into politics? No, I'm not. Because A, I cuss too much, and B, I tell the fucking truth. So no, I'm not.
I am before I get in trouble, I'm going to
Why are you
no
gonna get in trouble?
for time.
No, we're fine.
Yeah, we know we're
I'm
fine.
good. I like talking to people who ask me real questions
No,
and not just, how does it feel? Oh my God. I love these questions. I love having conversations like this because this is the point. And, I'm so grateful to be able to talk like this. So ask me the questions.
All right. People are voting their favorites, and I'm just gonna go through. All of you guys can beat my ass because I spent 47 minutes with Billy Porter and didn't bring up a musical theater myself. So, look, I'm a theater kid. Like I'm gonna go like punch myself after.
Saved my life, people. Saved my life.
Saved mine too. What advice would you give queer middle school students who are struggling with their identity?
Oh, it's so hard because it depends on what family you're in. It depends on what environment you're in, what bubble you're in. But the one thing that I would say, and knowing from where I was in middle school, find a space where if you feel as if you're in danger or you feel as if, there's not a space for you, try to find something that you can enjoy to latch on to, something that helps you to be able to dream beyond your circumstance. And in middle school, it's hard to understand this, but you have to love yourself first. And this is for the middle school, the high school, the college, the adults, the middle-aged, and the senior citizens. We have to understand how to love ourselves first and relinquish and abandon the need for validation from anything or anybody on the outside of us. Love yourself and validate yourself. And it is not easy. It is not easy. Mm-hmm. And I recommit myself to doing that every day. When I turn on the internet, and my mantra is, I do not now, nor will I ever adjudicate my life or humanity in sound bites on social media. That is my mantra. That is what I live by. That is what I recommit myself to every day so that I can maintain my sanity. And even inside of that, it's so easy as you're scrolling with the 99.9% of positive responses to land on one asshole. And that's the thing that lingers in your mind. That's the thing that paralyzes you. You got 99.9% of love and love and love. And the only thing that we can focus on, it's human nature. So how do we change that? That's what I'm saying right now. It's like, whatever it takes to protect yourself from that and lean into you are enough just as you are is the work. That's the work. And it's not easy work, and it's all day, every day. You know, I can't tell you how many times I have to be like, and just take a break and meditate and be like, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna stay the course. You know, it's work. It's not easy. And it's not linear.
I'm gonna try to get one more question in before
Come
we
on.
wrap our time up. But I just want to say to the person, Julie, who asked that question, that you know, we're all rooting for you as you continue your journey.
Absolutely.
From Mark, I'm interested to hear more about how Mr. Porter lives with religion and religiosity now. I'm fascinated how he's able to revisit these attacks during childhood and yet speak with such warmth about your community.
You know, religion is man-made. Spirituality is divine. I chose spirituality. And every day I'm in search of all different forms of that. And those, that curiosity has allowed for me to stay open to spirit and be compassionate and forgiving to man-made religion. And that's how I do it. And every day, it's every day. Today, I was like walking around, walking the dog, listening to Tara Brock. For those of you who might know her, you know, she's a you know, spiritual guru, listening to Pema Children, or however, whatever her name is, you know, Oprah, you know, like I'm just always trying to figure out how to be the best version of myself and to practice what I preach in the best way that I possibly can.
Thank you for this. I have learned so much. Oh my gosh, this is like an honor to have you here. We're at time. I'm so sorry I couldn't get to more of your questions, everyone watching. But what you can do—
I talk a lot. I'm sorry, y'all. I talk a lot.
It's cool. No, just chatty queens out here. Please read Billy's book. It's like such a nice balm for the heart in like these crazy times. Or you can just wait for the audiobook if you're not a reader.
You can wait for the audiobook.
When you turn it in.
I said I'm on chapter 14 of 20 right now. As soon as this is over, I'm gonna go back to my computer and my microphone and keep going. I'm gonna just, you know, I'm trying. The hope is for November 19th. The hope is for November 19th.
When Billy Porter meets his deadlines, we can all have the audiobook too. No.
Jamal, stop being shady.
I had to get a little bit in, but thank you so much. And I'll hand it over to our host, Lonnie.
What a absolutely fabulous hour of conversation. I know you can just feel the vibes coming in through the Digitron world. It's just been, I know I speak on behalf of just hundreds of people. Thank you so much for just bringing it all right there. It's so the real of the real. And I just love every single word spoken, truth to power, and just keep going. So I just want to say that it's hitting so many people. My phone's blowing up. People are texting me like, They're all like going, you were just hitting people right. You're hitting them in the head and the heart at the same time. It's so beautiful. I found two questions. There's lots and lots of questions. I have two, Billy, that are really kind of hitting with me. One is from Key, and she asks, how should younger queer folks go about finding a chosen family?
Yeah, that's just getting out on the streets and finding it. You know, it's wherever you go, it's on the pavement. You know, you have to get out of the house. And, you know, it's hard for me to talk about it and to speak on it because we didn't have social media. We didn't have social apps that keep us in the house. You got to get out of the house. You got to get out of the house and you have to engage with people face to face and find your tribe. And you can't find, well, you can start the idea of finding your tribe here, but you got to get out of the house, y'all. You got to get out of the house. We got to get out of the house. And my hope is that COVID has reminded people about, you know, real connection face to face. I hope that we can hold on to that. Yeah, you know, I hope that the fact that we've had to sort of be sequestered and, you know, for all of this time will remind people of the importance of going to a restaurant, going to a coffee shop, going to a bar, going to a concert, going to the theater, saying hello to somebody in the fucking elevator. How many times do we get in an elevator with 20 people and nobody says a thing? Hi, how are you? I learned that from my mother. How's everybody doing?
Talk to a stranger. Talk to a stranger.
Talk to a stranger. You never know. You never know. It's
absolutely
active. Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to let everybody know that's been on the Zoom. We're giving away lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of books. We've given them away to our partners. They're going to schools. They're going to community groups. They're going to outreach groups. We're thrilled to spread out and let people be touched, both written word and soon they'll be hearing it as well in your own voice, which is pretty incomparable. I can only imagine. We're coming up on 8 o'clock. We'll ask one last question for you.
Yes.
And then we'll close out for this segment of the evening. There is one question. One person wants to know, was there something specific maybe about the social uprisings, not this past summer, summer before, and the pandemic? Could you tease apart, was there anything that you felt maybe provided additional momentum or gave it a coloring to your writing that absent those two things might not have happened?
It was all of that. It was all of that. You know, an agent came to me in 2014 and asked me to write this. We put a proposal together and sold the book and, you know, sold it to an editor in like 2017, late 16. You know, and for me, I was trying to find my way in. You know, I'm not like a David Sedaris kind of person, you know, where I write brilliant anecdotes and they're funny and I knew that wasn't the way. It wasn't like a Tina Fey comedy book. I knew it wasn't going to be that. I knew if I was going to write it, it was going to have to be the thing that has happened. And I also knew that because of my persona, the expectation would be the antithesis of what it was that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that first, of me having to deal with it. And then to write it, I started writing it and I couldn't, you know, for a couple of years, I couldn't like find the momentum because the theme, and I do this in my best white girl voice, overcoming adversity. Oh my God. You know, and it's like, yes, it is that, but that's not specific enough. And that's not launching me into something that helps me write consistently. And then COVID. Well, first, Trump.
Yeah.
And then COVID. And then me living with HIV, with nobody knowing, and the PTSD of how our government and the world handled and mishandled and botched this pandemic sent me into a spiral, a trauma spiral that, and I don't remember the actual day, but I remember the action. And it was when we were all holed up in our houses. The first like month to 3 months. And the television would come on and that bitch would talk shit. And nobody would say anything. Why, Fauci? Why, whatever that other woman is, are y'all letting him stand on the dais and tell us to inject ourselves with bleach? Why are y'all doing that? What the fuck is happening? This is how I was talking to the TV. Like my grandmother used to talk to the TV. And one day I was like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the way in. It's in the moment. I want people to feel viscerally what it feels like to be unprotected for me in my story in the micro, and then for all of us to be unprotected in the macro. That is going to make this story resonate beyond just a showbiz tell-all. Like that's the last thing I wanted to do. That's the last thing that I was interested in. You know, it's like, yes, I'm a showbiz person, so there's going to be showbiz stories, but what is it connected to that's deeper than just, I'm one of Tony? Yes, right. It's great. It's great. What's deeper than that, though, for me? And for me, it was those things specifically in the PTSD from me having lived through the AIDS crisis and secretly living with HIV that led me to the book that you get to read today. And I am so proud of it.
It's beautiful. Jamal, thank you so much for your preparation, for being here, for guiding everybody through this interview. We really, really appreciate your time and energy. Billy, 100% superstar, could not be bigger fans. There are no bigger fans than right now. Biggest.
No, thank you.
It's all downhill after this.
Thank
you. We love you very much. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
I love you guys.
Everybody, thank you so much for coming. Look for your books. We hope we pick your names out of the hat. I'm sure we will. So thanks, everybody. Did you want to say something, Billy?
Yeah, this is just like a sideline that other people shouldn't hear, but somebody needs to send me a text to the link for the next thing.
Understood. We will do that. Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Stay hydrated.
Good night, everybody. I love you all. God bless.